Hey all, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns. So I was actually considering holding off on this video until Saturday for the next edition of Lying Lefties. Because wow, did we hear some doozies. What I'm talking about is a French language debate. Oh my God. Like, if Carney and Singh really were Pinocchio, our forestry industry, they'd be healthy for the next decade. These two guys, they can't help but lie. So anyway, I took notes. See, notes on the debate. So I'm not great at shorthand, so I'm sure I missed a lot of stuff. And my suspicion, if you want a really detailed item by item review, my suggestion would be check out David at Moose on the Loose or Elevate, Jasmine Lane, or even Wyatt Claypool on the National Telegraph. They go far more in depth into this stuff than I do. For me, though, I'm just, like I said, I took notes and I'm just going to go over what I saw and expand on that. And if you watch the debate, you can tell me maybe I'm out to lunch, maybe you agree, Leave comments in the comment section. Let me know. So anyway, before the debate started, there was a lot of talk about no women in the debate. And my question was, does it really matter? I mean, the debates are for the party leaders. So if there's no women in the party leaders of the invited parties, there's going to be no women in the debate. It's not some secret mankind agenda. It's just how it works out. The only woman that could have been there is Elizabeth I Fall Down Nightly May, but her party broke the rules, and she knew she broke the rules. So she was uninvited. So, I mean, you didn't see Max Bernier there. He didn't qualify either. So I really don't think there's much to it about this whole woman thing. And the other thing about Elizabeth May, does she really offer anything? Like, come on, people, let's be serious here. For the last 3 debates, she's been included, which I've disagreed with each time. And all she did was parrot Justin Trudeau. She offered absolutely no independent thought on her own. She just agreed with Justin Trudeau. Let's be honest, the Greens are just, the Liberals it's a offshoot party created to soothe the ego of Elizabeth I Fall Down Nightly May. That's all it is. They're not a real political party. So yeah, I don't get the whole no women thing. If every party had a woman leader, then there'd be no men. And I'd be saying the same thing. It's like, these are your leaders. So anyway, the other thing I want to mention is I watched the debate on CPAC, not on CBC. I refuse to watch CBC. I just refuse. I watched it on CPAC. They were airing the CBC footage. So I guess I was watching CBC, but I was tuned into the CPAC channel, so they get the credit for the viewership. Maybe it's petty of me, but I'm just done with the CBC and their nonsense. The other thing I wanted to mention is, and this goes into the CBC nonsense, is the CBC gave Pierre Poilievre the absolute worst translator they could find. He was freaking terrible. And you could tell he was terrible intentionally. Like, I don't speak French, but I could hear Poilievre speaking, and Poilievre was speaking very fluently. And yet, to listen to this translator, you would think Poilievre had maybe grade 2 French. And you can't tell me that wasn't done intentionally. So anyway, just a sideline there. So they did the opening statements, and one of the things that really stood out to me on the 4 leaders' priorities is only Pierre Poilievre spoke on affordability for Canadians. Jagmeet didn't, the Bloc didn't, and Carney didn't. Only Poilievre mentioned affordability. And before Poilievre's, I made a video the other day about Poilievre talking about government accountability becoming my top issue because nobody ever talks about it. But prior to that, affordability was my top issue. So only Pierre Poilievre felt it was important enough to mention. I mean, to me, right off the bat, that tells you where the other leaders' priorities lie. It's just that simple, So anyway, the first opening thing was about Trump, as to be expected. This caught me off guard. Carney refused to answer the Trump question and instead did his word salad and his fear-mongering, but he actually didn't say anything. He did not tell you how he would address Trump, which is what the question was. Poilievre, to his credit, gave a really detailed answer on how he would handle Trump. It was he talked about strengthening Canada, which we need, and he talked about negotiating as soon as he took office, which is what we've needed. I mean, Trudeau and Carney have refused to negotiate, so, the Bloc talked about independence. That's going to be a reoccurring theme. That's all they're focused on. It was very clear. And the other reoccurring theme is Jugmeat tried to talk about his election talking points and avoided the question completely. And he did this repeatedly throughout the debate. Jugmeat, what type of shoes are you wearing? Let me talk to you about healthcare. That's not the question, but that's what I want to talk about. To be honest, the only person that answered how they would handle Trump was Poilievre. The other three didn't answer it. So I don't ever want to hear somebody tell me that Carney is the man to stand up to Trump, because he couldn't even tell us how he's going to do it in the debate, for crying out loud. Carney finished off the Trump question by pushing WEF and China. Indirectly, but anyone that's been paying attention knew what he was talking about. We gotta sign up with these people and sign up with these people and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, we know what you're talking about. You're talking about the World Economic Forum and China. That's who he's beholden to. All right, then we got to about the Liberal legacy. The Bloc absolutely called out Carney on their disastrous record, and Carney just mumbled. Then Poilievre exposed Carney and his Liberal legacy. Carney honestly looked disinterested. He just fidgeted, did a step back, looked around, looked at his note. He couldn't care less what anyone was saying about the disastrous 10 years. He really couldn't. And then he finished off pushing the WEF in China again. And Jugmeat just ignored the question and went off topic again. Like I said, this was a very common occurrence with Jugmeat. Then they started talking about tax cuts. Well, Carney comes out against tax cuts. This makes no sense to me. I mean, Carney's a pathological liar, so isn't this one of these topics he should just lie about and say, yeah, rah, 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 I'm for the tax cuts? But no, he came flat out and said he's against them. The Bloc, I can't even figure why they're a federal party. I really can't. They don't most of the questions they didn't answer. They don't care about, if it's about Canada, they don't care. They really don't. Carney went into massive fear-mongering about Trump again. By my count, Carney brought up Trump 7 times on 5 topics, pushing the fear-mongering. Even if they had nothing to do with the topic. It's just orange man bad, bad, bad. It's like, yeah, we get it, but what about this topic? But no, he was just pushing that. The next is they played a video of people on the street asking questions. Something I noticed because they did a wide shot of all the leaders. You had Poilievre, you had the Bloc leader, I can never remember his name, and you had Jugmeat. They were all intent on the video, listening to what was being said. Carney, he couldn't care less. He was reading his notes and fidgeting and paying no attention whatsoever. So either he knew the questions beforehand and didn't think he needed to pretend to hear them now, or he's just uninterested in what people have to say. I mean, I guess it could be either one or both, really. But it was really telling to me that he had no interest whatsoever in what people were saying on those videos. Completely oblivious to them. Then, third time, Carney has objected to tax cuts for Canadians while saying we need to raise taxes. Jugmeat finally brought up Carney's conflicts of interests. I was surprised that the Bloc, Poilievre, and Jugmeat did not go harder at Carney on this topic. I mean, there's so many of them. But as soon as Jugmeat brought it up, the CBC, there to save him, changed the topic instantly. So maybe that's why they stopped trying. Nobody bothered to bring it up, because it was pretty obvious the CBC was not going to let anyone question Carney on that topic. Then we got Carney turning every topic into fear-mongering about Trump. It really was ridiculous. Then the CBC showed the offered tax cuts by each party. Poilievre is offering the greatest tax cuts. The Liberals are offering the lowest tax cuts of the 4 parties. But here's the thing about the Liberal tax cuts. They offered 0 spending cuts, and by my shorthand, and I heard this repeated by the CBC, or by the CPAC, on the after debate panel, is Carney was credited for offering $500 billion a year in increased spending on top of the record-setting deficits that we already are experiencing. Like, because he's not told us how he's going to cut or make any money. So he's just increasing $500 billion onto an already debilitating record-setting deficit. Like, people should be really scared about that. Poilievre, to his credit, detailed in great detail how he plans to pay for his campaign promises and tax cuts. As I said, you can watch the other guys. I'm sure they'll go into great detail on this. But just a quick thing is, it's he's going to cut waste. He's going to get rid of what was the word? Consultants, wasted consultants, and foreign aid. He's going to cut any foreign aid that's tied to terrorist or corrupt governments. So we don't have the numbers, but at least he gave us an idea where he thinks he can get his money. Carney didn't do that. Jugmeat didn't do that. And the Bloc didn't do that. Jugmeat keeps bringing up Poilievre, and that really confused me. There is no seats for the NDP to win off of the Conservatives. Like, those Conservatives are not going to suddenly jump into Jugmeat's camp. So I really don't understand what Jugmeat was doing, wasting so much time trying to attack Poilievre. He should have been going after Carney, because if there's any chance the NDP have of lifting up their sagging polls, it's stealing seats from the Liberals, not from the Conservatives. I really don't know who's advising Jugmeat, because he was all over the place in this debate. I really don't know what he was doing. It was absolutely strange to me. Carney constantly talking over people, but the CBC refused to apply the rules to him. Carney and Singh constantly talked over people, yet CBC would not censor Carney for it, which is, this is the problem. This is why he wouldn't do the TVO French debate, but he was willing to do the CBC debate, because the CBC has his back. Oh, Carney just tried to turn healthcare into Orange Man bad anti-Trump talk. It's healthcare. I was really disappointed, because not one person, including Poilievre, mentioned that under the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, healthcare transfers to the provinces have fallen to 21%. They're supposed to be a 50-50 split, and they've fallen to 21%. You want to see who's hurting our healthcare? That's who's hurting our healthcare. But Carney seems to only have this one topic. Trump. He's trying to turn every single topic into Trump. Then we got into oil and gas questions. Singh flat out refused to answer the oil and gas question. He wouldn't answer it. And even the CBC said, okay, we'll take that as you're against oil and gas, because he just wouldn't answer it. Carney flat out lied, contradicting multiple statements he had made before. So we were back to, he tells one person he's pro-pipeline, he tells the next person he's not pro-pipeline. The Bloc even called him out on it, and he gave a absolutely moronic word salad, rambling explanation of why he told in BC, said he was going to use the Emergency Act to put pipelines from coast to coast, but then when he was in Quebec, he said he would absolutely not use the Emergency Act to put pipelines in. Again, I was surprised more people didn't go at Carney, because the laundry list of his lies just in this campaign would probably fill a 5 terabyte hard drive. Poilievre is pro-pipeline and pro-gas, oil, minerals, but nobody should be surprised about that. He's campaigned on it. He's made his stance very clear. The one that it's always confused me is the Bloc. Okay, Quebec buys its oil from the United States, but they're against the Alberta oil and gas, and they're against pipelines coming through to get Alberta oil and gas to the Atlantic region. And the Bloc's justification for this is Trump wouldn't blow up their economy by taxing oil and gas. Yeah, he would. We know he would. What alternate reality is the Bloc living in? Carney is pushing WEF in China yet again. Carney just admitted to tripling the industrial carbon tax after he took credit for canceling the consumer carbon tax. Well, he didn't cancel it. He just paused it. And the only reason he paused it is because he stole the idea from Poilievre. This was funny. In the post-scrum, Carney actually whined that Poilievre was stealing his ideas. I kid you not. You can't make this stuff up. The arrogance of the guy. He's been stealing Poilievre's platform all campaign, but then he goes out there and says, Poilievre keeps stealing my ideas. Carney and Singh keep talking over people. Fourth topic, Carney tries to make it about a Trump again. Jugmeat completely incapable of answering a question on topic. He really is. He was asked about nuclear energy and he didn't answer it. Not at all. Poilievre is pro-nuclear energy. Carney refused to answer the question and the Bloc is against it. Singh eventually admitted he's against it, but it took a lot of pressure. Then we got into the Haiti immigrants. Carney will not allow them in Canada, but is pro-Century Initiative, 100 million objective, as long as they share his views. So basically, he said if they're not Liberal voters, he's not going to allow them into Canada. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. Quebec will welcome the Haitians. And you got to understand, Montreal has a huge Haitian population already. So even though the Bloc complained this entire debate about immigration and the immigration numbers, they said they would accept the Haitians in because that's a political move. That's all that is. Singh thinks we can offload the Haitians on the USA, but he wants the Hamas immigrants to be let in. Who the hell is advising Jagmeet Singh on this stuff? I'm not an NDPer, but even I'm feeling sorry for the guy that he's got such terrible advisors. Or maybe he's ignoring his advisors. That's possible. Poilievre said he would turn them away because they did not seek refugee status in Mexico or the USA, thus breaking third safe country rules. Okay, at least he has a reason for it. Carney admits he will not commit to fixing broken Liberal immigration policies. Singh rambled on about imaginary people he claimed to have spoken to. Bloc did not answer on immigration system, other than saying they'd welcome in the Haitians. The Bloc in this debate, you notice the Bloc really didn't answer any questions that were about Canada. And the times they did answer, they turned it to only being about Quebec. Again, I don't understand why they're a federal party. They have no interest in Canada. They are a provincial party. That's what they are. Carney finally admitted Liberal immigration not working, but he still supports Century Initiative of 100 million population. Come on. Singh thinks hiring more government workers will fix immigration. I actually started laughing when I heard him say this. Again, who is advising Jagmeet Singh? Then we got to foreign aid. Singh throws a tantrum defending Hamas terrorists because Poilievre had said something about an organization tied to Hamas terrorists. Poilievre said he would cut aid to organizations tied to terrorists and instead fund legitimate non-government aid groups. He names one of them. I forget what he named, but I'm guessing it's like Red Cross or something, you know, the nonpartisan humanitarian groups. And this is why Singh threw an absolute tantrum on stage that Poilievre was saying he wouldn't fund this organization that has ties to Hamas. Bloc refused to answer as doesn't impact Quebec. Again, why are the Bloc here? Carney will continue to fund non-terrorist organizations and governments. No big surprise there. Him and Justin have almost given $1 billion to Hamas over the last 5 years. Then they went into a round robin on this or debate, and Poilievre said he will cut waste in foreign aid. So that's what I was speaking about, is that's how he plans to pay for his campaign promises is, you know, if you're tied to a terrorist organization, if you're a corrupt government, and well, he didn't go into it, I'm going to say it, if you're promoting DEI in some Timbuktu country, all that's going to get cut because that's better served spending on Canadians than going overseas. Singh, well, he's really livid about defending Hamas. Like, he just wouldn't let that one go. Carney will not answer this question. So in other words, he has no intention of cutting foreign aid to his special interest policies. Then we got to Canadian division and separation. This one's actually kind of interesting and amazing. Poilievre gave a great speech on Canadian unity and rebuilding the division caused by the Liberals over the last 10 years. It was actually a really great 35-second answer by him. Now it gets weird. Okay, now we've heard of the separation happening in Alberta. We just saw a poll out that Saskatchewan actually leads Alberta and Quebec on wanting to separate at this given moment. And Quebec, we know separatism's on the rise. So you have 3 provinces in Canada all talking separation. So Singh says he thinks there is no division in Canada, and then yammers off topic on his NDP platform. Really, there's no division, really. Bloc yammered about Quebec. They don't care about Canada. And then we get to Carney. Carney thinks, and this is a quote, Carney thinks Canada is united and there is no separation or division happening. What frickin' country are they living in? Like, I know Carney hasn't lived here for a long time, but you only have to be here a day or two to see the division, to hear the division. Carney keeps talking over people and the CBC's doing nothing to control him. Carney keeps saying, I just became PM, like that's some great excuse, ignoring the hands-on role he's played in the Trudeau government for the last decade. Like, okay, you just became PM, but you have advised Trudeau for the last 5 years, and we know you were advising him for the 5 years prior to that. So you know what your policies have done to Canada. CBC cut the mic off on Jagmeet Singh for talking over people. Why wasn't this done to Carney? Both Singh and Carney have been behaving like spoiled preschoolers, constantly talking over people. Poilievre says he will protect the French language and the French culture. Carney says he doesn't see Canadians as equal. Boy, does that explain a lot, doesn't it? Singh once again refuses to speak on topic. I actually don't even know what he was talking about. I started tuning him out because he wouldn't talk on the topics he was being asked about. Carney's back to speaking over others again. CBC does nothing. Carney now admits to wanting to increase immigration again, completely contradicting himself from 10 minutes ago. Is anyone surprised with Mark Carney and this by this point in time? Singh has been caught lying at least 10 times this debate, but he just keeps repeating his lies, and Poilievre called him out on it a few times, but, Carney called him out a few times, but Jagmeet was just talking over people and just repeating I guess these were talking lines, but they were false. They were flat out false. They were lies. And that was the end of the debate. It was the weirdest debate I've ever seen in my life. And then we get to the post-debate scrums. Okay, Carney really didn't say much of anything worth noting, except for one thing, and I'll get to that at the end. Poilievre was asked about internet censorship and everything. And he said he will be canceling the Liberal NDP internet censorship rules and sites that even longtime Liberals like Margaret Atwood have called this law insane and authoritarian and terrifying. And it is. It really is. Okay, then we get to Jagmeet. Jagmeet refused to take serious questions from certain media outlets because he deemed them not real media outlets, so he wouldn't accept questions. But they got to ask their questions. They're the ones asking about the internet censorship, and Jagmeet, he wouldn't answer at first, but then he let it slip. Both Jagmeet and Carney both reinforce they will be expanding internet censorship laws and Minority Report style pre-thought crimes. Now, the Minority Report I heard this afternoon from Ben Mulrooney. He was talking about this topic on his radio show on Chorus. And he brought up the minority, but that's what it is. It's pre-thought crimes. In the UK, people are actually being charged that they might say something bad in the future online. That's terrifying, people. That's absolutely terrifying. And both Jagmeet and Carney admitted that they want this in place in Canada. So if you ignored the rest of the debate, that one thing right there is enough to not vote for the NDP or the Liberals, because that's absolutely terrifying. And if you don't know what I'm talking about in the Minority Report, you need to watch that movie. First off, it's a great movie, so you're not wasting your time. It's a Tom Cruise movie, and it's absolutely fantastic. But the concept behind it is absolutely terrifying, and that's what they want. Like, basically, they're saying if you said something bad about them in the past, chances are you're going to reoffend, so we're just going to come arrest you now before you reoffend. And I'm not even making this up or exaggerating it. That is exactly what's happening in the UK from reports, and that's what they want here. And we can't let that happen here. Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. The winner of this debate, in my opinion, was Pierre Poilievre. Coming in fifth place was the Bloc and Carney, and the complete self-destruction, last place, terrible showing, was Jagmeet Singh. So anyway, that was the French leadership debate. As I said, it was the weirdest debate I've ever seen. Hopefully the English is better, and hopefully there's a little more give and take, because I would really like to see Carney held to account for a lot. Like, there's all the corruption through Brookfield, there's all the lies he's told, he keeps calling himself an environmentalist, but his environmentalist record is absolutely horrendous. So hopefully there's more give and take in the English one tomorrow. Thursday. I'll be putting out this video on Thursday, so it'll be the English debate will be Thursday night. But yeah, anyway, that's my recap. If you like this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share helps me greatly. And I do appreciate anyone that does like, subscribe, and share. If you didn't like the video, leave a dislike. Always feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to have an active comment section. And yeah, as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Bye.